Hey team, meet Skimpies, the organic cotton undie made like a liner. Skimpies are for all of us who love going commando but can't quite pull it off like we used to. You just pop Skimpies directly into your pants, press firmly, and it's like you're wearing underwear without the gnarly panty lines. No PFAs, no synthetics, no irritation. Just clean, breathable, organic cotton where you need it most. Created by Bette Bentley, inspired by her own journey as an absolute babe who wanted to live that commando life, but without the UTIs. Go to skimpies.com to get started. Every peach deserves its day, and Skimpies is here to help make it happen. Skimpies, we just want to be in your pants. Hey team, and welcome. I'm your host, Carrie, creator of Mother Life, your destination for all things real talk and parenting. This is the IRL group chat, where we talk about the wild balancing act of pursuing careers and passions while also doing our best to show up for our kids. Join me every week as I sit down with some badass parents in my closet and we talk about their careers, kids, and relationships and all of the weird shit that comes up when you're trying to balance the seemingly impossible. "'Twas the night before Christmas when all through the house not a creature was stirring, save for one tired spouse. The stockings were hung by the chimney with care in hopes that come morning siblings would say gifts were fair. The children were nestled all snug in their beds while visions of craps they'll forget in a month danced in their heads. And mothers in the kitchen, dad finishing with gift wrap. They were both slightly annoyed with each other and in need of a nap. When out on the lawn there arose such a clatter, they sprang up to see what was the matter. Away to the window they flew like a flash, tore open the shutters and threw up the sash. The moon fell softly on a palm tree lined row, giving the luster of midday to the Rivians and Volvos below. When what to their wondering eyes should appear but a miniature sleigh and 8 tiny reindeer. With a little old driver so lively and quick, they knew in a moment it must be Saint Nick. More rapid than eagles, his coursers they came, and he whistled and he shouted and he called them by name. Now Dasher, now Dancer, now Prancer and Vixen, on Comet, on Cupid, on Donner and Blitzen. To the top of the porch, to the top of the wall, now dash away, dash away, dash away all. Now the mom and the dad, they knew they were likely delirious, for a few days into winter break the chaos had been quite serious. But they couldn't quite understand how a little old man could move so swift, much faster than they can. At first they thought it must be magic. Then they assessed their own energy levels inside. Tragic. While they wondered with confusion and delight, they realized that magic just couldn't be right. So the mom and the dad put their tired brains together, ruled out any unpredictable weather, then came up with a new idea of why old Saint Nick could still have so much energy to literally fly. They tallied the boxes because, yes, he was old, but he was missing something they weren't, or so they'd been told. Yes, Saint Nick loved giving gifts, that was apparent, but his zest for fun, that was the behavior of a wily old grandparent. But a grandparent couldn't be quite right. He wouldn't leave his kids on Christmas Eve night. So instead he must be old, but without nary a carbuncle. Yes, that's it, he must be a very grand uncle. While the truth is likely somewhere in between, and this rhyme is meant to be cutesy, not mean, let us not forget, let us always take note, that it's the parents, let's be real, the mothers, making this holiday fucking float. So to all who feel the holiday magic's insane to pull off, and like me, look at the to-do list with a big healthy scoff, let's do our best to remember what our kids love the best. It's us, we're the present, and screw all the rest. So if you're given the choice this holiday season, choose presents, choose fun. There's no better reason. While stunning pictures are great and traditions are fun, don't kill yourself doing it. It's better not to be perfect, just done. With that, from one tired mother who wants gift giving out of sight, happy Christmas to all and to all a good night. Now, if you're still with me, ho 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 team, welcome to our 70th episode and a very special Christmas Eve pod with me, a Jewish mom doing my best to muddle through this season and Christmas. It's a real double-edged sword saying that you're a Jewish girl who loves Christmas, because while I love it, I love the twinkly lights, I love the Christmas tree, I also don't want to be responsible for it. I don't want to be in charge of it. Growing up, I used to go to my neighbor's house and help them decorate their tree. But there was no tree in my house, so it felt like I got to dip my toe in holiday magic. but like logistically, I don't know how to do Christmas things. I don't know what a Christmas tradition looks like. And yes, blah, 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 I can make my own. But it does feel like a lot of responsibility to try and make this a special time for my kids who have come to sort of expect celebrating both, even though we're raising them Jewish. My husband grew up not Jewish, loves Christmas. So anyway, it's a little bit of an interesting period, but I do also feel like I can empathize this year more than most with people who really do feel the responsibility of being the chief memory makers in their homes, especially around Christmas. It just all feels so intense and heavy. This year, Hanukkah was also kind of anticlimactic, and growing up it wasn't super climactic. I remember the gifts being kind of shitty and meh, and it was really about being together and doing the thing. But I just I feel like I didn't really stick the landing on Hanukkah, but it's over now, and now I've kind of got a mulligan with Christmas, and I don't know if I'm gonna stick the landing with that either. I used to say that growing up, I really liked having Hanukkah, but I don't know. I can't decide if it's better to put all the eggs in one basket and just have everything unfold on one day of chaos and mayhem, or spreading it out over 8 nights if that's better. I consider this my research project, and I'll let you know. But regardless, it just seems like it's a slog right now. In particular, from Thanksgiving to now till through to the end of the year. Maybe it's because public schools are now off, at least where I live, for 3 weeks instead of 2. And I have some guilt about putting my kids in camp for that whole time because it's their winter break. So I feel like I should be with them, but also it seems pretty unattainable for a 3-week off period. This just goes back to the thing of the research shows that our generation is spending more time than any previous generation with our kids, doing things for our kids, being engaged in their lives in a granular way that never has history seen before. And there's a lot of benefits that come with that, but it is also frying our fucking brains. So no, we did not need the 3-week break. If you're in Los Angeles, we didn't need it. Please sound off in the show notes if where you live has a long ass winter break as well. But I have been reminding myself of that statistic a lot. And I think it's important for us to remember that no generation before has spent this much time with their children. That includes stay-at-home parents. So if you are a stay-at-home parent, you are staying at home, devoting your life solely to raising and supporting your children, and you are doing more of that than the previous generation of stay-at-home parents. That is some real shit. The expectations that we all have on ourselves for how we're going to show up is just more. That means that, of course, it feels impossible because it is impossible. And that isn't even factoring in if you are also working outside of the home. So I am doing my best to just say, let's give ourselves a little bit of grace. I also want to apologize to my mom. I don't think she listens to the pod. Quite frankly, I hope she doesn't listen to the pod. But I remember growing up thinking a lot of her Hanukkah presents she would give us would be lame as fuck. And I'd be like, you're a terrible gift giver. And now I realize that I might be a terrible gift giver, or it's just impossible to get it right. Because kids have expectations or ideas about what they should get or want to get. And even if they wrote it down on a list, they likely didn't actually write down what they truly wanted on the list. And if they did, they probably changed their minds 5 minutes before opening present time. I was catching up with a friend today. Shout out Erin if you're listening. And I cannot tell you how wonderful it was to just hang out on the phone with her and listen to her live her life with her kids and the chaos of it, and to hear that there were also tears at her Hanukkah when her kids were opening gifts. Because I was starting to think, what's wrong with my kids, especially the older one? Why are they crying receiving gifts? Shouldn't they be lucky? And ultimately, it's just an expectation gap that it's sort of impossible to square. But I am thinking next year on the gift giving front, I might try and do some things different. And I think this only works now that my kids are getting a little bit older, mainly the 5-year-old. The 2-year-old's just following the vibes. But I think I'm going to do 2 things. One, I think I'm going to have like a non-negotiable sit down where we are writing down in very specific terms what people want and really sticking to that. I didn't have them do that this year in any sort of meaningful way. I just was trying to have them do it as an activity to distract them from whatever I was trying to get done. But next year, like properly, they need to be making lists. And for those of you who are seasoned parents, you're like probably thinking, no shit, Sherlock. But I mean, I'm new here. I'm still figuring it out. Second thing I'm going to do for Hanukkah, I don't know if it works so much for Christmas, but because there's each night, I'm going to upfront be like, hey, tonight is book night. Next night is close night. And ahead of the Hanukkah celebration season, I'm going to tell them what the run of show is. I'm not going to tell them what they're getting, but I'm going to tell them what the theme is so that when clothing night comes around, because you bet your ass there's going to be a clothing night, I'm not hearing a bunch of drama and like absolute waterworks over getting fly ass clothes that are going to be a fresh look on the schoolyard, you know? Like, be happy about the clothes. Maybe it's easier to be happy about the clothes if you know you're getting clothes. In your head, like you're imagining some absolute monster Lego. I don't know. So those are some things that I'm going to try and institute next year. There's some great irony, of course. I took great effort to put this Substack piece together, which I'll share again in the show notes, all about sort of non-gift gifts that you can give, you know, vouchers for experiences and yada, yada, yada. I think my kids are a little too young for that, certainly the 2-year-old. B, I think some of those things actually end up being quite expensive depending on what it is. And C, I just don't think conceptually we're there yet. And that could be just me not wanting to try it out. But next year I am going to try and do things like coupon books, wrapping up a box of their favorite cereal, this sort of thing. But yeah, I didn't take my own fucking advice, which is classic. In general, this season, there have been some highs and some lows. I broke my finger. And when I say I broke my finger, I mean my 2-year-old accidentally broke my finger. And that's been really inconvenient. A, because it's my flicking off finger, my middle finger, and it's on my right hand. And it's really slowed me down, but it's also forced me to ask people to do more stuff for me, which is not something I'm very good at. I mean, I'm also just dropping stuff all the time and not delegating as much as I could be, but it has had some positive impact. So trying to make lemons out of that absolute shitty lemonade. And hopefully I start eating lots of calcium-rich foods, and this will be behind me by February. Speaking of February, I turned 40 in February, folks, and maybe I'll do a little solo pod on that. I generally like my birthday. A lot of people don't. I feel good about the upcoming 40s. I think it's going to be a good season for me. Don't really care about getting older. Sure beats the alternative, you know what I'm saying? But I am very excited because I did something that I haven't done since I became a mom, which is I booked a week-long solo trip to go back to the UK to see all of my friends there. I lived there for 7 years. I have a whole life there. I have friends and former work colleagues and deeply meaningful places and relationships that I haven't been able to nurture in a really long time in the way that I would like. And I booked the ticket because I'm going by myself, important. And I felt this like immediate rush, both of adrenaline that I was doing something like this and the decadence of it. I immediately cried, just like remembering my old life and how far my life feels like that from now. Not in a bad way, but just like I completely just, because it was COVID, pieced out on my old life. Have not been back since I became a parent. And that feels really sad. So I both felt like excited and sad about that. And also, of course, guilty that I'm leaving my kids for a week. But I do strongly feel like doing this trip is hugely important for me investing in my sense of self. I'm hoping to maybe interview some podcasts when I'm there. We'll see. But yeah, really eye-opening to have that experience of doing something so profoundly just for myself. And turning 40 seems like a great excuse to do that. So that's a big high. The other big high, quite frankly, is that Professor Emily Oster says that I can drink Diet Coke and it's not going to kill me. And while I don't indulge that much anymore, this has been a big one for me and the crew because I don't remember drinking a sip of water on purpose before, college would be generous, really. I was pounding 2-liter buckets of Diet Coke is like my sole source of liquid in high school. And while I'm far away from those days now, thrilled to be able to treat myself and not think I'm going to die. So Professor Emily Oster continues out here doing the Lord's work for us all. What else? I think one of the other things I wanted to just talk about is one of the most cliche topics of all time for this season. And that is the fact that holidays bring up so much stuff for all of us. Because even if you had the most idyllic childhood and everything was perfect, there will be something about this holiday or this season that brings up shit for you. And for those of us who didn't have that idyllic, perfect childhood for whatever reason, those feelings are all the more profound. So for me, I've been in my feels, and you guys have heard me talk a lot about sort of the complexity of friendship in this season of our lives. And I just am finding myself really missing my childhood friendships and friends and wanting to be with those people, and how hard that is because I don't have a home base. My mom doesn't live where I grew up anymore. I don't have a home base to go back to in the way that you see in the movies. And that's hard because I do have those roots there, and I would love to be able to spend time in that place. And I had this nostalgia around it, or the expectation of what that was going to be like when I grew up that's just non-existent. Similar to leaving London and then never revisiting it or thinking about it, kind of not going back to the holidays because of what you see in the movies and what you just imagine for your life. I'm feeling a sense of loss about that this season. And that's been hard. And also just, not having a big loud house with lots of, it's a loud fucking house, but only because of my kids. I just thought it was all going to look a little different. And so I think I'm giving myself the permission to feel nostalgic, sad, missing, while also feeling incredibly grateful for what I do have and the incredible relationships and love I do have around me. I just think it's important to say that feel your feels. You're allowed to feel sad. A recent guest on the pod, Julia Borston, who's an amazing CNBC correspondent, was recently interviewing Sheryl Sandberg and asking Sheryl Sandberg, what's the hack for not being worried about stuff? And Sheryl said, in the true Illuminati way of all successful people knowing each other, she said something like, well, my friend Ariana Huffington says that it's not that you don't worry, it's just that you allow yourself a time to worry. I'm going to give myself 5 minutes, an hour, whatever the time period is that's reasonable. And I'm going to let myself feel those feelings. And yes, she's a bit of a robot, and some of her frameworks for living life, I think, are a little unrealistic. But I appreciate the point that instead of, just focusing on the gratitude, the this, the that, yes, of course, all of those things. And also, be in your feels, be a little sad if you want to be sad. So it's a bit of a funny season, really. And I kind of have rom-coms to blame for that. With the recent passing of Rob Reiner and his wife, I've obviously been thinking about some of his work, When Harry Met Sally, and that brought me down this sort of whole path of the movies that built the architecture in my brain about what my life was going to be like as an adult. And recently on the pod, I've also noticed this as a theme, that a lot of people's like bone of contentions with their partners will be because their reality doesn't match up to the rom-com of their childhood dreams. And, you know, thinking a lot about that now. And I'm sure that somebody would look at my life, and I'm sure at another stage in my life, I will look at my life and say, wow, her life was like a movie. And so I think it's okay to feel the feels this holiday season. Really, I think that the theme, if I were to say there is a theme of this week's rambling thoughts from the closet, it would be, this is the season of two things can be true. Because we can enjoy our family, we can enjoy the season and all of the magic of it, but we can also fucking hate it, and that's okay. So this is me giving you permission, not that you need it, to just like be human. And just because people you know on the internet are talking about how magical everything is, it doesn't mean they're not losing their shit sometimes. And if they're not losing their shit sometimes, like, I'm thrilled for them. Whatever they're doing to regulate their system, whatever meds they're on to support them, whatever mechanisms they have, I'm thrilled for them. But we're not all the same, and that's just dandy. What else did I want to talk to you guys about? Oh, illness. We've had a lot of illness in this house lately, and I just wondered, this is a little bit of a little petition. Do you guys think we could formally move the holiday season to another time of year? Question mark. Can we do that? Because I don't understand why we both expect to travel, often quite long distances on airplanes, at the exact same time that everyone is inevitably going to get horrifically ill. Question mark? Like, we're doing something wrong, is just what I want to say. I've become extremely desensitized to vomit as of late, so I guess that's a silver lining of the illness sickness thing. But I've been thinking about, like, I wrote this piece a while ago about how to care for your kids when you're sick. Not when they're sick, when you're sick, and how horrible that is. And I've been thinking about that on steroids. I know so many, especially women now, who are getting diagnosed with various autoimmune diseases. Obviously, you all know I have one, but I think the rise of autoimmune disease is like pretty well documented, and there are a lot of different guesses as to why that is. We talk a little bit about that in the Dr. Kana episode. But this time of year, I had a procedure to do some stuff, checking some imaging, checking up on the old Crohn's last week. And between the colon cleanse and the actual procedure, it's like at least a full 2 days of being out of commish in a peak time of year. And I think about people who are flaring right now, whatever that means to them, who are getting treatments right now, whatever that means to them, and how, in addition to just taking care of their own bodies, they are also trying to be the chief magic makers for their family and the chief happy memory makers. It's just wild to me. So if you know someone who has a chronic illness, if you yourself are that person, whatever that is to you, I just want to applaud you. And B, if you know someone in your orbit who is in that world, just like, I don't know what that love looks like, but just see them, because it's crazy the expectations we put on ourselves. And even if people are sick, it kind of like doesn't matter. We still expect everyone to show up unless you're literally dying. And then I guess you get a hall pass. It's just nuts. It's nuts. Going back to the point that I made at the beginning of this episode, we are doing more now than ever before. And it shows, honey. It shows. We haggard. We're tired. But we're also trying to make magic happen. And that is pretty impressive. Our au pair said to me today, Maria, shout out Maria, something really sweet. because obviously I want her to have an amazing Christmas too. Oh my God, I'm going to blow her socks off with her present, but I don't want to ruin it. So you guys, I'll let you know when it's over. But she said to me today, she was like, Carrie, you say parenting is really hard. And I was braced for some shit from a 24-year-old about how it's not that hard and how I'm just like high strung. I don't know what it was going to be. I was just like bracing, right? And she said, you say parenting is really hard, but it's only really hard if you're trying to be a good parent. It's only hard if you're trying to be a good parent. And that really got me. A, because I'm being seen by somebody who I admire and I think is incredible with my kids. But also just a reminder that like trying is hard. Doing anything hard is actually hard. And, I feel like especially the overachiever generation that we are, a lot of us are like, oh, but that's going to be hard for other people. It's not going to be hard for me. And it's like, well, newsflash, it is. And that's okay. I don't know what we talked about this week, guys, but it's a lot of feelings, a broken bone, some silly stuff with Santa. I think really I just want everyone to hopefully go to bed early. I would say take a nap, but you're not going to fucking take a nap. I hope you do, but you're not gonna, because you're going to be thinking about all the shit you got to do. So I hope you at least can go to bed early. I hope you can not think about what you're eating, just enjoy the holiday season. And I hope that you're ready and geared up for a great 2026, because it's the year of the horse, I'm told. We're leaving the year of the snake behind us. We're shedding our shit. We're moving forward. High velocity, full speed ahead, y'all. So I will see you next week. Merry Christmas. Happy holidays. Let's just survive this. And remember, Santa is not a parent. Of course he can fucking fly around delivering Christmas joy and gifts. He doesn't have the mental load we have 364 days of the year otherwise. He's just in that toy shop making toys with his, by the way, full staff of elves. So the next time you say, why can't I be more like Santa? I don't think any of you are actually trying to say that. Just remember, Santa and, need I remind you, Mrs. Claus are, you know who they are? They're like Ina Garten and Jeffrey. They don't have kids. They're spreading joy. You can't do both all the time. And that's okay. So Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays. I fucking love you guys. See you next week. Team, I need your help. If you love it here, please like and leave a review on your favorite podcast platform. Subscribe to the Substack for full access to this episode's show notes and join the discussion. And of course, follow me on Instagram at mutha, mutha.life for a daily look at all things mother. Thanks for listening. Be sure to tune in next week for another Chat in the Closet. This podcast was produced by Mother Life, music by Ronan Landa. See you next time.